You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. All right, we'll just get started so we can get this done. We'll say our little prayer and get it started. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for giving us this opportunity to share with others what you've blessed us with, and we just pray that it reaches the people that it needs to reach, and that we say the words that they need to hear, and we just glorify your name in any and every way that we can, and we thank you again for the opportunity and all the blessings that you give us. In your name, and we pray. Amen. Okay, so today we're just going to talk a little bit about the entrepreneur mindset that it requires to run and own businesses, and the shift that you have to take in order to actually feel and learn and become the ownership that is entrepreneurship whenever you're running and starting and building a business. Because, just like they say, you become a millionaire in your mind long before you become a millionaire in your bank account. I think it's the same thing in a lot of other cases. You become successful in your mind before you become successful in your business and things like that. Because without a plan and without a vision of what you want, it's really hard to navigate what it is you want your future to look like. So a little bit what we want to touch on today is, especially with these guys, of course, I'm with my team, KP, Bailey, and Jawan, and they had a little bit of a rough time stepping into that entrepreneurship role and ownership role and really feeling it and taking complete ownership of it. They have done an incredible job since then, but it was a little bit slow start. None of us were entrepreneurs. I don't know about you guys. I think we've mentioned and touched on it. We all kind of felt like we had that. KP she had a marketing business, and also worked, in the corporate world. But in a way, for me, I didn't know what it looked like, but I always felt like I was going to be an entrepreneur at some point in my life. I knew I didn't want to bartend, but I was not ever one to be like, man, like Jawan, he's always had a vision of owning a bar and owning a pool hall and things like that. Bailey kind of dipped into different little avenues of life and different careers and things like that. But I think the entrepreneurship mindset and spirit is really in people. I don't think it's something that people that don't have an interest in it fall into it. I think you're either built for it or you're not. And not to say that there's anything wrong with people that have the 9 to 5, and that's an easy life to have. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. At 9 o'clock you got to be at work. You get an hour lunch break. You get off at 5 o'clock, and whenever you get off at 5 o'clock, whatever you didn't finish that day, you just pick back up at 9 o'clock. As an entrepreneur, every day is Monday, and your phone is always on. It is always 8 o'clock a.m. In a sense, because we never have a day off. And y'all have really learned what that is to experience that, especially in the bar, because we are open from 7 to 2 a.m. So a day off doesn't exist. We get calls all hours of the night, from legitimately 6:45 in the morning to 5 a.m. We can get a call, whether the alarm's going off, whether a door was left unlocked, whether they can't figure out how to turn the lights on, whether they've got a question about the money, that type deal. So it is a certain mindset and tough skin that you have to be an entrepreneur. And so what I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about is what officially clicked for y'all when y'all stepped it from a bartender to, I would say Jawan had a little bit of a management role under his belt as before he went into directly as an owner, but that's still a big difference from a manager role to a full-on owner. And so, I remember when we opened Rabbit Hole, I used to always encourage you guys, feel like an owner, act like an owner, speak like an owner, really take ownership of everything in and around that building and all of your staff. And it was a little bit of a slow start. And I mentioned earlier before we started, even so much as, when you pull up into the driveway or the parking lot of the bars and you see trash that doesn't belong, you either have a choice to go, that is my job to pick it up because this is my job. I take pride in it. This is my building. This is my business. I don't want people pulling up and seeing trash in my parking lot. Mm-hmm. Obviously, my employee saw it because they have eyes and they drove up, but they chose not to clean it up. And I would always give people a little bit of grace on that because when you show up at 6:45, it's not always light. So maybe you don't always see it. But when you show up at 4 in the afternoon and it's still there and you have a whole crew of people, every person in that building chose to walk by that trash outside or not change the light bulb or not fix the TV or leave it, bouncing around on the direct TV. But as owners, that is our job to make sure that all of that stuff is always taken care of. So what I want to touch on today, and I really want you guys to express, and I can't wait to hear it as well, is what was it that eventually, because now y'all are gung-ho, y'all are always on top of it, y'all are running, multiple businesses, and y'all are doing an absolutely fantastic job doing it. Y'all should be very proud of the growth that you guys have had. So what I want to know is, was there any point or a particular incident, or did it just kind of evolve over time for you guys of where you were like, this is mine, I know if I don't do it. I know there's a lot on Jawan's plate and a lot on y'all's where y'all feel like if I don't, especially you guys, all of y'all, if y'all don't do it, it doesn't get done. Right? And y'all have really embraced that. So what point was it, do y'all feel like in y'all's ownership role, did y'all feel like y'all actually stepped into it? Because the name of our podcast, Sweat Equity Podcast, brought to you by M4D Concepts, was Sweat Equity. So it was a little bit tougher for y'all to feel like it was y'all's.
Absolutely, yeah.
So who wants to go first on that? I'm curious to feel like, to hear and understand where y'all's mindset shifted from a management employee type role that was in y'all's mind, even though I viewed y'all as owners. What shifted for you guys? Because I think it's really important that we let people know that you may not feel that right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think for me, it was evolving over time, for sure. I think in my situation's maybe a little bit different. So for me, it was coming in and like I knew I needed to know what goes on behind, the scenes. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I want to get my feet wet. I want to learn inventory. I want to learn operations. I want to learn how we order. I want to learn how we do all these different things. And until I felt that I knew that I could do that and maybe even feel like I had the respect of the staff that I knew I could do it, I think that I didn't maybe feel that ownership until I really, really knew what I was doing. So that's kind of more the involvement for me, like getting in the trenches with y'all, like sitting down constantly and doing inventory over Excel sheets, getting behind the bar with you and how to make a Bloody Mary or whatever it is. And I think that was my biggest thing. It was just really knowing how to do it. If there was a moment that maybe really felt like this is it for me, I would say it was probably one of our biggest events, which was St. Patrick's Day. And my mindset always goes towards marketing and events because that's my background. And while we would have smaller events, we had our soft opening, we had Christmas stuff, we had stuff going on. That first big event, one that we're really known for, is St. Patrick's Day. And it was like a 2 to 3 day party. And it was a schedule that included everybody plus people outside of the business. And we had literally thousands of people at the bar over a 2 to 3 day period. Yep. And when you get in and and you see all the fruits of your labor that we had worked on for months and come in and you see all these people working it, the success, the security, every bit of it, every aspect working, that's when I think that I took a step back and was really like, wow, like we did this is us. And it did feel like ownership then. People were coming to me with questions. And when I was felt like I was kind of like leading the day, as operations. And I think that was probably a big moment for me. But yeah, getting my feet wet and really learning everything was, I think, the most important for me. And once I kind of got into that, it kind of clicked a little more.
Yeah.
I can follow up with that for sure. I mean, mine definitely evolved over a long period of time because I already knew the bartending side. And it took me a long time to transition out of that bartending side. I was very stuck in my role, but I knew I needed to get out of that and learn the other side of the operation side. It's a huge side of things. And if you are very blind to that, then you have no reason even being in management, much less ownership. So that took a while for me to get out of my comfortable bartender side into my ownership role. And then when people started coming to me and asking anything and everything, and me being confident and comfortable with my answers to provide to them and know exactly what I was talking about, that's whenever I officially started to know, okay, I got this. I really, really do know this. But also at the same time, I was hesitant to make choices and decisions because I felt like I always needed to ask permission. That was the biggest thing. I always felt like, oh, I can't order, we don't order straws off of Amazon, but I can't order straws and cups off of Amazon because I need permission to spend $27. No, you need these products to make your bar run. And if it's something that you need to keep the bar open and your customers happy, you do it. You don't need somebody's permission to do those things and to make a purchase or to call a plumber. You don't need to waste that 5 minutes of calling somebody to make a decision that you already know is correct. And that's whenever I developed I'll make these choices. And if my choices are wrong, I would rather learn off of my wrong decisions. And I know that my team will be very okay with me learning off of a wrong decision because I made a decision and I made a choice to help the bar thrive and strive and my employees thrive and strive because I thought that was the best decision. So I think that's kind of whenever I really developed into the ownership role was when people came to me and asked me for help or guidance or anything like that. And I was very confident to give them that and to provide that for them. And then also just making decisions on my own and not asking for permission. Like when you don't have to call mom and dad. That was a big one for me. When I didn't have to call mom and dad anymore to ask for permission and make choices on anything, and that might even be a plumbing decision of
Am I dad?
30. Your dad, I'm sorry. But he's graduated.
I think moving to mornings was a big thing for you.
Yeah, and then
when you're working at night, like you were our eyes and ears at night, but when you moved to the morning, there were a lot of times that it was just you for a few hours.
Yes.
And like you almost were forced to make decisions. Not that you couldn't do it, but when you move to mornings and you're there Monday through Friday and you see everything that goes on, I think that was probably a big monumental.
Yeah.
At least from the outside, that's what I saw. Even I think that you grew leaps and bounds at that point.
And that's when I got into the inventory side and the ordering side and sitting down with reps and really seeing the production of it all. Yeah. You know, the outside or the production that nobody sees. Yeah. You know, you have to, when you're scheduling events, you don't just put an event on a calendar and call it a day. You have meeting after meeting of what liquor rep is going to be there, what DJ is going to be there, who's going to do, who's going to be our security for that day. I mean, there's a long list to do to get through anything, whether it be an event or even just a
shift.
A regular shift. Yeah. And you have to adjust to your holidays too. Like we knew that Thanksgiving just passed, and it's one of our biggest, busiest holidays, and we have to staff up for that. You just have to know these little particular things along the ride. Yeah. So for sure. That was mine, just learning and knowing, confidently walking into every single room that I walk into and having the answers. And if I don't have the answers, it's okay because you're going to figure it out, but you need to confidently say it's okay to not have the answers and confidently know that you are going to figure that answer out. So
we learn from our mistakes.
Yeah. Joanne, how important do you think it is for the success that you've seen and the ownership that you've stepped into in multiple bars, how do you feel like how important has that mindset shift been for you?
Oh man, I guess in a big part. Sorry, I sound stuffy, but just gotta watch the way you like move and talk and walk now. Like really, that sounds like a lot of people are like used to the party side, and then like can be that party side, and then also be the ownership side because man, more eyes are on you, more people look up to you. To have those people like reach out completely different. Like, oh, instead of reaching out, I was like, hey, let's go party. It's more like, hey, how can I improve my business here? How can I improve my business there? So that's when I was like, damn, I'm that guy right now. So I think that was like the kind of where it kind of like really just changed my mindset there and things like that. I guess to kind of also answer the other question is, like you asked them, is I guess when we opened Richardson, I guess in a way, because everything that the four of us are doing on Fort Worth is like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
You're out here in Richardson. Outside of marketing, it's like you're doing all four of those out here. Because
Yeah.
that was I think that was when it like really hit me. I kind of knew it already with Richardson, but I mean, not Richardson, Rabbit Hole. But once we opened Richardson, like, okay, this is a different animal now.
You know, I
Kicked it
remember
in
a
high gear.
particular time with you, and you may not even remember it, but I do. And it was, we were at Rabbit Hole, and you were asking me something about draft beers and how to, you know, I don't even remember if it was when we were putting in the draft system at Rabbit Hole, or, and we were talking about it, and we were talking about, I think it was, man, I wish I could remember the exact situation, but we were talking, and I was just like, Jawan, you've done this. You've got this. Like, why are you asking me any of these questions? I'm like, if you wanted to go do this on your own, you don't need me to do this. You've done it. You're proven in it. You just need to have the confidence in yourself to make these decisions. And then moving out to Richardson, you displayed that confidence by knowing you don't just throw draft beers on. We all know that. You know, you just don't throw whatever beers you want on there willy-nilly or just because a rep comes in and they're nice to you.
Yep.
That's not, there's definitely a system to which ones we put on draft, because it's a very important decision, because at Richardson it's a very, very large, I mean, it's 95% of our or about 90% of our beer is sold from draft beer, you know. And I just remember that conversation where you were asking me questions that you already knew the answer to, but you weren't confident enough in yourself to make those decisions. But again, like I said, you guys have done 180s, and y'all all make very confident decisions, and y'all walk with confidence and ownership and things like that. You know, for me, I remember for years, I mean, this is almost a decade in, I would walk into Mad Hatter. I would open it, you know, if I had to go do something before anybody was there. And I feel like that's where sometimes it really hits you, is when you open that door and nobody else is there. It's just you. And you're unlocking the door, and you're walking in, and you're seeing this open building, and you're seeing your business. And that, for me, is when it really hit home, like, this is mine. And for the longest time, I didn't feel like it was mine. I always felt like this is a dream. I mean, this isn't even real for me. It's a job. But, you know, I always thought about, man, how cool is it? This is my job now. Like, this is my job now. It is to run this business. And even at that, like I said I felt like it was my job, as if I was still an employee of someone's, but I just had maybe a higher rank in that employment. But when it comes to things that have to be done, decisions that have to be made, you understand at that point that you are the owner. And like Jawan said, when people, for me as well, you know, people would sit, hey man, can I ask you a couple questions? And, you know, kind of like you mentioned earlier about, you know, hey, I want to know how to do this, or how did you figure this out in business? And I why are you asking me? You know, and I even asked somebody, I forget who it was, but one time I'm like, why are they coming to me? Like, why are they asking me this? And they're like, Chris, they look up to you. You're running a successful business, and they want to know how you got there. And that was a big, humbling experience for me as well. That people, when I realized, man, people look up to me, and I always think back to, I don't know if y'all have ever thought about this, but when you look back to jobs, like when you worked at Buttons, you worked with the owner. When I worked at Woody's, I worked with the owner, and you imagine these people on a holier, higher level than you are, even though they're just humans.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get by and run their business as well. But I remember I used to look at John, and it was like, oh my God, he was intimidating, and I thought he was just, he is a very well put together, very smart man. But, I looked at him as if he was this big, high and mighty father figure, this, that,
On
and the
a
other.
pedestal.
Yeah, and he's not even that much older than me now. You know what I mean? But
Now.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you're
Yeah.
a freshman in high school,
A senior is
you're a freshman
Yeah.
in high school, and you look at a freshman in college, and you think they're just completely grown, and it's a whole different level.
Yep.
But once you get to college, you're like, these people aren't
Babies.
Yeah, this is nothing. You know what I mean? So that mindset shift is extremely important to grasping and stepping into the ownership role and to run a business, make decisions. And so I just wanted to talk about how important that is, because if you can't get yourself in that mindset, you're always going to underperform. If that's maybe a brutal way to put it, but you're always going to underperform. So that's what I want to ask you guys about. How do y'all feel like y'all have transformed since you've, stepped into that mindset? And I know you talked about, what y'all feel like brought y'all there. How important do y'all think it is to maintain, walk, talk, and act like Joanne was speaking? You have to walk it, you have to talk it, you have to be that, because you are that, and that's how people see you. People no longer see you, and like we've discussed in another podcast, you're no longer Joanne, you're no longer Bailey, and you're no longer KP. You're Joanne that owns Mad Hatter and Rabbit Hole. You're Bailey that owns Rabbit Hole and Seared. You're KP that owns Seared and is opening Seared and owns Rabbit Hole. Your identity now is your business, which is crazy and uncomfortable, because we met Mike, they're a plumber guy. Nobody walks up and says, hey, this is Mike, he owns Service Plumbing. Nobody asked, you know what I mean? But now that is who y'all are, and that's the label. How important do y'all feel that it is to keep that mindset and lead with that mindset, now knowing how much people look up to y'all and seek y'all's advice, and what, I always talk to Juwan about how important it is, from his health to the way he talks to the people he hangs out with, because he has two beautiful daughters that are looking up at him. It's not just the employees looking at him, just same thing for you.
Yep.
You have a little girl that is going to want to be mom someday, and possibly have that entrepreneurial mindset. So how important is it, and how hard is it sometimes to keep that mindset going through y'all's day to day?
For me, I feel like even as females, it's maybe even a little bit different. To be a female in this business as an owner is not as common. And you kind of, for me, it's almost like the way I handle myself is a way that I can demand respect. And if I, walk it, talk it, if I am mature about it, responsible about it, hold my head high, also think big picture of the business and long-term and strategy and how we are perceived, our community, fundraisers, everything that we do, I think ends up coming back around to demanding that respect, and if people can respect us as business owners, I feel like it can really help every business that we have moving forward, right? It's just like, if you make a mistake, we all make mistakes, right? But let's pretend that, Joanne and Bailey are behind the bar and they mess up an order and you give somebody the wrong drink. Well, if you've already made a good impression with them and they already trust you and they're already loyal to you, are they going to care at all? Nope. Hey, you messed up my Bloody Mary. I wanted Tito's instead of this. they're not going to care. But if you've earned that respect and that trust from them, they won't care. If you haven't,
This is so true.
you're getting a 1-star review.
Yep.
They're going and telling all their friends that we make the worst Bloody Marys. So it's like I just try to take everything as in making sure that people see who I am. It is my real self, you know.
Yeah.
But I think earning that respect from people is probably one of the most important.
Yeah. And just, I've kind of learned this growing up. I just have a good, dress well, act well, make sure that you always respect people and respect others, because your reflection is not just of yourself. It is who you're around, the company that you're with, your family. It reflects your whole life.
Amen to
So
that.
you are a reflection of everybody who is in your life, including friends and everything. I'm not just talking business, but you are a reflection of them. And if you want to, people perceive you is how they perceive your team and who you're around. So just maintaining, that's just how I feel. Just maintaining a good, proper, respectful, and I mean, of course, I'm real. We are real people. We're gonna mess up. We're gonna have bad days. But at the end of the day, you do know that I'm a nice, loving, caring, respectful person, and I love my people hard, and I work really hard, and I hope that
Smart, intelligent.
all of the
Yes.
things, and I hope that you perceive that, whenever you meet me, because I'm. That's how I want to be looked.
And I think the way people perceive us is how we start perceiving ourselves. So what we
Absolutely.
put out there is what people are going to think of us. And, then you start really realizing, man,
Yeah.
I am an owner. They see me as an owner.
This is kind of weird and touchy, but the other evening, like Chris and I, we were at dinner and we were in public, and then we kind of got into a tiff, and I'm like, not here. We just don't. Which it's not a big deal. I'm like, not famous. We're not famous. It's just kind of like mom and dad. You don't want to fight in front of your kid. I don't want to be perceived like that. I don't want to be in a tiff with you in a public situation. Like we do that in the car.
No, one of my biggest fears has always been local, but because we are, people have called our establishments a staple in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And if we were to mess up, and I know this is a little bit off the mindset part of it, but if we were to mess up, it's going to be local bar owner does
Yes.
blah, blah, blah. Local bar owner arrested for or
Bar of
charged
the year
with.
owners.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It 100% will.
Juwan, how do you feel like you've been able to maintain from going to that? How important do you think it is for you to maintain that mindset of entrepreneurship? And because again, we are going into another restaurant, and so we're obviously leaning on you on a lot of this stuff. How important, and do you feel like you ever struggle to find that mindset and keep it going into these, or has it kind of shifted to where that's just who and where your mind is now, and so it's become a lot easier? Because I feel like for me, obviously now that is my mindset. I know what my job is. I know what my duty is. And I know that, it's to be a part of and lead a team. And so I know what that is. But like I said, for the longest time, it was really hard for me to maintain that mindset.
So I guess the good and the bad. The good part about it is just like, all right, cool. I've done this before. So, I mean, I don't feel that I can lead these people astray. I've learned enough. I've messed up a lot. I've done good things a lot as well too. So I just feel more confident now that hey, we have to do it this way. Otherwise, we'll have to go this route. We don't want to go that route because there's always that one person waiting, like you said, newspaper, somebody else at the bar. They're how it's
People listen.
We live through social media nowadays.
Yeah.
The moment you say one wrong thing, they're already recording. It's going to be on Facebook. It's going to be on Instagram. It's going to be at any one of the places out there.
And it can cancel your whole business.
Yeah, yeah.
We've seen it.
Yeah, 100%. You can't even dress up. Like people pull up the old costumes. They will shoot you down,
eat you alive.
real bad. I guess I know a lot of it is just because I guess what I struggle with it's like, man, instead of me being like, this is common sense, I would be like, all right, this is common sense. In my head, guide them. It's just like, man, how many times shall I show you this? And they're still always, oh, you never showed me. Oh, you never showed me. It's like, I know I've showed you multiple times now. So that's my biggest thing is I struggle with right there with that mindset is just, I can't really just be like, look, I know you just don't want to learn it at this point in time, or you don't want to listen, or you want to do it somebody else's way, you want to do it your way. That's like my biggest struggle there because people like hate change.
Yeah.
I accept it. Sorry, I'm decided it's just me. And so when you're telling somebody like, hey, you have to think like this because you not only affect that one person tells two other people. Those two other people end up it turns into this big group of people that find out about anything, they see anything. So I guess that's one like my biggest struggles. That's I guess I don't know. I kind of zoned out right there. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So we can finish up with this. What I want to ask you guys is, what advice would you give a young entrepreneur or an entrepreneur in general getting into a business, not necessarily even a bar business, because owning a business is owning a business. There are obviously different types of businesses and different requirements and things like that. But I truly believe that the mindset always has to be the same. And for me, like I always, I'll go as I always try to strive to see the bigger picture. Mm-hmm. I'm not looking right in front of me. I'm always looking at the bigger picture. How are we going to get bigger? How are we going to get better? How are we going to grow? That's always where my mindset is never being comfortable, never being stagnant, learning, investing time in other people that can teach you, putting myself around people that can teach me. Again, we become like the people that we're around. If you want to be a bum, hang out with bums. If you want to be a millionaire, hang out with millionaires. And so for me, I guess my piece of advice to keep, or that I would give a young entrepreneur for mindset is think bigger picture, learn from your mistakes, don't beat yourself up, and just fully embrace the fact that you are the leader. Mm-hmm. And everything, as tough as it sounds, falls on your shoulders. But once you can build your building blocks around you, you can delegate a lot of that. But in the very beginning, it is all on you. Mm-hmm. And so you really have to understand what it is to own and run a business, because it is a full-time job. It is 365, 7 days a week, and you never get a day off. Mm-hmm. And if you don't understand that in your mind, you're going to set yourself up for failure. Mm-hmm. And you have to understand that, not kind of touch on what Juan just said, not everybody thinks like you. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different personalities you have to deal with. So for me, I think that would be the piece of advice that I would give, is think bigger picture, understand that, you're working with people that don't always think like you, and that you have to fully embrace the grind. You have to embrace the fact that you are the person. And, whenever I pray, I always pray, I know that God built my shoulders for heavy weight. Mm-hmm. Or I would not be able to handle the things that we go through. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have that confidence, and I think that confidence helps build that mindset. So I think that would be mine. So I want to wrap this up with what y'all's tidbit of advice would be to maintain or gain the mindset that it takes to be an entrepreneur, because it is definitely in the mind before it is anywhere else, because you have to have that in order to gain that confidence.
Mm-hmm. Stop settling for the comfort zone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Be uncomfortable.
Be uncomfortable. Accept the challenge, and take it on. If it was easy, we'd all do it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Failure's not an option, and you're never too good to. You're always going to learn. You're going to continue learning every single day. But failure is not an option in my book. Yeah. Ever.
I mean, just keep an open mind, Mm-hmm. Like, you're not the richest person in the world, so there's still more for you to learn. So be able to accept change, be able to learn, be able to teach, be able to, just grow in ways you've never grown before. So
Very
Yeah.
much so.
I guess, yeah.
Amen.
You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
For sure.
Yes.
Because it is definitely a
That was
growing.
my quote of the year.
Yeah, it is
was.
definitely a growing process. So I think we'll wrap this up. I just wanted to touch on how important your mindset as an entrepreneur is, and get y'all's advice and y'all's stories of where it really stepped in for you guys. Again, I'll end with how extremely proud I am of y'all, and the mindset that you guys have embraced and really stepped into and grabbed that ownership role and ran with it, because nobody's asking daddy for anything, as you put it, anymore. You guys just really have stepped into it and become true leaders. And that is why people are coming to y'all, asking y'all for business advice. As weird as it may feel when they do, it's because they look up to you, and you guys are running successful businesses, and y'all are doing it in a manner it speaks to y'all's character for people to come and ask y'all for your advice and want to sit down from you or with you and learn from you. That speaks a lot to your character and your success. So be very proud of yourself. So we're going to wrap this up. This is the Sweat Equity Podcast. We hope this helped a little bit. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down. And if you want us to do a specific episode, drop that, and we will make sure that we get on it. But thank you guys for tuning in. Until the next time,
Thank you.
be easy.